Home renovation has become a priority of European energy policy since in 2019, households represented 26% of final energy consumption in Europe. Most of this energy is used for heating and uses natural gas. Today, we are facing a scale in the prices of energy that started last year when the demand increased globally as the economy started working after the deceleration of the COVID-19 pandemic. The situation is even worse right now after the invasion of Ukraine and has shown the high energy dependency of Europe. We can face this challenge working in the supply chain, trying to diversify, promoting local renewable energy sources, promoting new technologies like hydrogen, etc. But the demand side is the key. Since we are able to decrease the demand of energy, we can contribute to reduce this dependency and we will be closer to energy autonomy. And we can start from our homes, trying to make them less energy consuming and more efficient. The problem is that most of the times we are not aware about what should we do, what kind of alternatives do we have when it comes of insulation. We selecting the right contractors? Are they well trained? Are there any subsidies or aids we can use? We need help in the journey of renovating our homes. This is where well-designed home renovation services can help. Today, we will be informed about a number of initiatives that have established home renovation services, and we'll have the opportunity of learning from their work and get inspired by them. Before we start, please put your microphones and cameras off until you speak. And for the audience, please use the chat box to ask questions to the speakers. With us, we have Mariangela Luccheri from the Covenant of Mayors Europe office, Christophe Milin from CINEA, Stefan O'Connor from the Electric Island Superhomes, Ignacio de la Puerta Rueda from the Basque government in Spain, and Jordi Ayats from the municipality of Olot in Catalonia, Spain. So without further ado, let's start with our first speaker, Mariangela Luccheri. Mrs. Luccheri is coordinating the help desk of the Covenant of Mayors Europe, where she helps signatories and territorial coordinators. Ms. Luccheri, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I would also like to welcome you on behalf of the Covenant of Mayors Europe office. So before getting into the topic of the webinar, I would like to briefly introduce you the Covenant of Mayors Europe. So the Covenant is the leading initiative on climate and energy addressed mainly to local authorities, but also involving other organizations such as ministries, regions, energy agencies, and other non-profit organizations. The initiative was launched in 2008 in all European Union member states, and then slowly opened to the entire world, counting nowadays more than 10,400 municipalities that we call signatories because they sign a commitment document. More than 10,200 are from the European Union member states. We also have other types of organizations. In particular, we have more than 200 of what we call coordinators. So ministries, national energy agencies, regions, provinces, and counties that join the Covenant to provide technical and financial support to our signatories. And finally, we have what we call supporters, again, more than 200 from the European Union. And they are energy agencies, associations of local authorities, and non-profit organizations that join the Covenant to provide technical support. What are the benefits of joining the community? First of all, members receive endorsement and recognitions from the European Commission and large visibility at EU and international level, mainly thanks to the Com Europe and Global Covenant communication channels. We promote their activities. We invite them to speak in EU, national, and international events. Members also benefit from networking and knowledge sharing experience and capacity building opportunities between peers and with experts. They have the opportunity to promote their good practices and achievements with the whole community. to consolidate their territorial development and strengthen multi-level governance. One important feature that is offered to, in this case, the coordinators of the pact, is the provision of scientific and technical feedbacks on tools and methodologies for the action plans development, and the recognition of these tools by the European Commission and the Joint Research Center, and also the possibility to have grouped analysis of local plans developed with these methodologies. Another important feature is also the My Covenant platform. So a platform where in particular municipalities can submit their own action plans and report on the progress made. But the platform is also used for networking, for e-learnings, and for promoting own good practices. Last year, the Covenant of Mayors started a new path addressed to support the community in reaching climate neutrality by 2050. Sorry, a moment. Apologies. I was saying last year, the Covenant of Mayors Europe launched our new vision that is aimed to support our members in reaching climate neutrality by 2050. With these new visions, signatories pledged to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, to improve the resilience to climate change and tackle energy poverty while ensuring a just transition for all the citizens. The Office of the Covenant Europe and European Commissions are committed to ensure a just transition for all the members in all the member states with our core principle of leaving no one behind. This means that while the ultimate objective for all the members remain the same, which is climate neutrality by 2050, we have implemented a differentiated approach, meaning that it's up to the municipalities to decide what are their steps to climate neutrality, and therefore what are their midterm targets for the reduction of greenhouse gases emissions. The only limit that we impose is that these midterm targets will be at least as ambitious as the national targets. Furthermore, the Covenant Europe focus on the development of local climate pact with citizens and local stakeholders, as we believe that stakeholders must be involved both in the development and implementation of action plans if we want to reach climate neutrality. As I mentioned earlier, one of the benefits of joining the community is the possibility to participate in our capacity building activities. We have recently launched our peer learning program for 2022. The calls are currently open and you can apply by the 25th of March. Here on the slide, you can see the link to the call text and the application forms. We have 4+1 peer learning programs. 4 programs are addressed to municipalities, in particular small municipalities. We have the expert mission for cities that support advanced municipalities working towards climate adaptation and climate neutrality before 2050. It partners local authorities merged on a expert learner basis, and they work together on rolling out ambitious strategies for climate neutrality. We have the training program that support the transfer of knowledge between 2 local authorities with the aim to increase their capacities to mitigate and adapt to climate change. And local authorities are connected with peers with similar interests or challenges, and they have the opportunity to learn from each other during site visits. We have the peer review that allows municipalities to benefit from an in-depth review of their local action plans by experts. And finally, we have the technical assistance that support small municipalities with less than 50,000 inhabitants in the preparation of selected projects included in their plans. We also have a peer learning program for territorial coordinators and energy agencies involved as Covenant supporters. This expert mission has 2 focus. There is a priority given to regions working on ambitious regional long-term strategies, so addressing climate neutrality. And then there is another priority for those coordinators and energy agencies that want to exchange on the development of plans and exchange of good practices that local plans can include. As for the expert mission for cities, even this expert mission is based on an expert learner basis. Another activity that the Covenant perform is called the Coalition of the Willings. We currently have 6 coalitions that focus on the 6 topics that the Covenant activities focus on. We have a coalition on mobility, on heating and cooling, on citizens empowerment, energy poverty and adaptation. And of course, we also have a coalition on sustainable mobility that also cover the topic of home renovation services and one-stop shops. Within these coalitions, the office liaises with key actors at European international level in the sector, in particular, European Commissions, other initiatives, ministries, and etc. And we foster synergies with other initiatives. We analyze what's the policy framework in Europe, and in particular, what are the financing instruments available for this topic. This information that we collect serve then to develop the other activities of the Covenant. In particular, we organize webinars like this one, and we release publications. We join forces with other initiatives for joint activities, and we improve our financing guide on the financing instruments available. So this was it from my side. Of course, I invite all of you to join the community if you're not yet a member, and you have the links here. And of course, do not hesitate to contact the help desk at info@mayors. And I'm here if you have questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, to our speaker, Mariangela. So let's now move to our new speaker, Mr. Christophe Milin. Christophe works at the European Commission Climate, Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency, CINEA, on actions to support local public authorities and trigger energy efficiency investments, supported by the Horizon 2020 and LIFE programs. Together with his colleague, Adrien Bullier, they publish towards large-scale rollout of integrated home renovation services in Europe, the ECEE Summer Study 2021. Christophe, yours.
So thank you very much, José. I hope you can see my presentation. Yeah, okay. So thank you very much for the invitation, as you said, and thank you for the introduction too. I'm Christophe Milin, project advisor at CINEA. And today I wanted to present a paper we wrote together with my colleague Adrien Bullier on Integrated Home Renovation Services. I'm not going to start with underlying the importance of housing refurbishment. It has been highlighted in all policy documents for at least the past 15 years, and it will probably be highlighted also in upcoming documents, especially in the current context, and yet it hasn't happened, and it is still not happening, not because of the lack of a lack of potential in the housing sector, or because of a lack of policy ambition, but probably because of the specificities of the housing sector, and in particular because of the human factor behind home renovation. As you know, most of the residential buildings belong to non-professional individuals, and by this I mean people like you and me who are not specialized in clearly not specialized in energy refurbishment, not even specialized in housing management, and so people that may face difficulties when entering into this complexity of home renovation, especially if you go for high energy standards. For the time being, there is clearly a lack of demand for home renovation, and people are a little bit stuck, not engaging in this kind of investment. There are different ways to push this demand for home renovation, ways of incentivizing the demand by providing subsidies, by providing financial schemes to develop and facilitate the investments. There are also ways that are currently being discussed to constrain the demand, and in particular to introduce an obligation of renovating homes when you sell or when you rent a house, requiring minimum energy performance levels for you to be allowed to sell or to rent the house. But either you use the carrot or the sticks, you need to facilitate this home renovation, because indeed most people are lost, and maybe they don't engage in this kind of activities, not because it's not interesting for them, or not, but maybe because it's just too complicated, and faced with these complexities, they just not engage in low refurbishments. It's not reasonable to expect homeowners and households to build capacity. They will probably, a normal person will probably renovate one home or maybe two in his or her life. And it's not reasonable to expect them to become energy experts just for one single work they will do in their life. On the supply side, in the construction sector, there's clearly no lack of market participants. I mean, there are many companies and highly skilled companies that could deliver parts of what is needed to implement low energy renovations. But the problem is rather the absence of coordinations between these actors and their diverging interests. So in the paper, we develop what we call the steps in a customer journey. So different steps people have to go through when trying to renovate their home, from first steps of information, identify the good moment, establish a simplified diagnosis and recommendation to do or decide to enter into the project, getting more into the details and the project design, selecting companies, defining the financing plans, doing the work, receiving the work, and in the end, also assuring quality of the work performed and follow up. There are, as I said, already many actors in the market, and they are covering parts of this customer journey, which may be or not in their core business. So it looks very nicely like that, but the reality of a homeowner will probably look more like this, and a very windy journey to home renovation. So a lot of complexity, people getting lost in between different actors and different steps of their customer journey, and in many cases actually stop the initiative in the process. So the idea of integrated home renovation services is to start from the homeowner's point of view and their experience in home renovation, trying to propose an offer that coordinates, combine, integrate the different services that are needed for especially private actors to engage in energy refurbishment, take on the task for which homeowners are not well equipped, which we consider indispensable to upscale low energy renovations. That means that for single measures, it may not necessarily be required, but if we go for low energy refurbishment, and this is what we should actually do if we want to meet our targets. So, sorry.
So the 2.4 deliverable.
Okay. So if we want to go for low energy refurbishment, so that is what is needed. So in the paper, I will very briefly present, but you will find much more ideas in it. We identified, we created an analytical framework to try to distinguish the different experiences of integrated home renovation services in Europe, defining three main models: advice, support, and implementation, which I will explain just later. It's based on observation of what we've seen in Europe, but I should already warn that even if it's easy to distinguish in very generic terms the different models and where to given experience belong, it's much less clear when you get into the details, and the boundaries between the models is a subject to debate. The first model we call the advice model is focused on the upstream part of the journey. So the providing mainly information marketing, also reaching the largest audience with a way, with an objective for triggering investment, but also the objective of disseminating new social norms. There are also initiatives designed to identify homeowners that are in a good moment in their life to engage in low energy retrofits, in particular new buyers. You know, when you enter and you just bought a house and you found actually the financing to buy the house, you are actually in a good moment to also include significant work before you enter into the house. So it's particularly important for this type of services to identify these homeowners and propose solutions at this stage of their lives. There are other moments in life where it's actually impossible to talk to homeowners because they are not willing to engage in anything complicated in home. They have other priorities at the time. So it's important to also align with their own timing and priorities. In this advice model, the main focus is on providing simplified diagnosis, so focused on the project, on the investment, and not so much on the actual situation of the household. So it's generic diagnostic. I will explain the difference later. It's kind of a light support also in selecting contractors. The services refer to third parties, to a list of certified companies, for instance, or referring to existing labels or certifications, but they do not take a stand on the actual offer in the market. It's hardly a business case. It's actually very difficult to find an economic balance providing this type of services, especially now that the willingness to pay for these type of services remain quite low. But it can be argued that most of the services provided in this approach could belong to a public service that should therefore be defined and funded. A second model we identify, we call the support model, which is basically an extended architect's mandate, covering the whole customer journey and going probably beyond the comfort zone of most public actors, because in this approach, you're no longer providing generic advice and referring to labels or just to third party without taking a stand on the actual offer of the market. In that case, you engage in market activity, you incur professional liabilities for the advice you provide. For instance, the structure is fully involved in the project design, including drafting the specifications for later consulting construction company, accompanying the homeowners in selecting this company, maybe negotiating the price, or at least giving an opinion on what is or what is not a good price for the work to be done. Also accompanying the homeowners in worksite supervision and reception of the work, and ensuring quality assurance and follow-up after renovation. So there is clearly a tipping point between what we call the advice and support model. The second model is much more engaging for the structure. You take much more risk actually providing this type of services, and you fully engage in market activities. You also provide a much comprehensive solution to homeowners, and especially at the moments in their customer journey which are the most stressful and complicated. So you probably also provide a more complete solutions. The tipping point is very blurry between advice and support model and open to interpretation. We can see this distinction by, for instance, paying for the services provided, or by signing a contract with a structure providing the support. But indeed, the tipping point is easy to define in generic terms, but it's much blurry when you get into the detail. The third model we distinguish is an implementation model, and in that case, the contractor not only design as in the support model, but also implements part of all of the work. So it's kind of a turnkey contractor, and where you have the full package, including design and the actual work. This is typically where the ESCO model belongs, but not only. We are not limited to this kind of models. And in terms of quality assurance, you can indeed think of a guarantee on the performance, on the energy performance achieved, but it's not necessarily a savings guarantee. You can also think of other types of quality assurance. What is important, and where we see there is a tipping point between the two previous model and this implementation model, is that because you are actually providing part of the work to homeowners, you have a vested interest in the type of advice you give to the homeowners. So you are interested in what they will or not decide to do in the end with you as a turnkey contractor. The other side of this is that because you're able to generate revenues on the work that is performed, maybe you can also provide services, design services at a lesser cost. I didn't mention yet the financing, because we do not really see it as another fourth model. It's actually more of an option that could be placed on top of one of the three previous models, and more particularly on top of the support and implementation model. What is important to consider if you want to design and propose also financial services is that you require appropriate legal framework. It's actually a regulated activity. And so you cannot just decide that you will do the bank if the legal framework does not allow. But there are also other type of financing services you could consider. For instance, you could help homeowners access public grant. You can even go one step further and pre-finance some of these public grants, so helping also homeowners invest by pre-financing the support, as they will get most probably a few months or a year after the work is actually done. And you can also work with a retail bank to pre-qualify for a retail bank financing offer. There are other financial engineering possibilities that could be explored, such as home-based financing or guarantee fund, subsidized loans that I will not develop here. We have, I think my time is past, but we have a number of examples we've been supporting with the Horizon 2020 program. You can see here on the map, and a few examples on the left. I could add OPENGELA to the list because it's actually also supported by our programs. We will continue to provide support to the development of this kind of integrated home and renovation services under the Live Clean Energy Transition programs. So you can find information and support for developing your own initiatives. And what I wanted to do as a conclusion is actually to ask you some question, or maybe some of this question could be actually revert to me. But for what you've seen in this presentation, what do you see that is missing to move from these pilot experiences I've just shown to a generalization? I mean, we have a number of points on the map here, but we would need actually much more of this if we were to reach our 2030 target, which is in 8 years, with a huge number of houses to be renovated in the next 8 years. And also another question is how to build the capacity of local actors to develop such schemes and on a large scale, because we see also that it's a new type of activities. It's kind of integration activity, maybe require new skills also, maybe beyond the usual base of typical local actors. And so why, how we could build the capacity of local actors or extend their skills is also a question. I stop here. I placed in the PowerPoint. I guess the PowerPoint will be circulated afterwards some references of one-stop shops we've been supporting, also the references to the papers where you can find much more information, and I will be happy to take questions now.
Thank you very much, Christophe. Here I have some comment from the audience from Getsi Alpar, that is saying that the main problem in my country is the lack of information around the possibilities and the absence of the market participants. Maybe this is linked with this capacity building or lack of capacity you were mentioning in the end of your presentation. Or do you find other aspects apart from the capacity that makes that in some countries there is an absence of market participants, or there is a market problem?
I mean, there is indeed the still a lack of information, and this is still to be tackled. But even in places where the information is actually quite good and have been ongoing for a number of years, even very well-informed homeowners or very well-informed professionals do not engage in energy refurbishment, because it's not just a matter of information. You have places where the investment would be actually profitable and it would be in the interest of the homeowner to invest, and still they don't, even knowing that they should. And it's mainly what I refer to because of the complexity of the whole process, and the need to facilitate this, especially if you want to go for complex works. If you want to refurbish the boilers or just add a few solar panels, that probably just information would be enough. But if you want to really engage in comprehensive refurbishment, reaching low energy standards, then I think information is not enough, and you need also to move to a more complete set of services to be provided.
Thank you. Also, I have a question regarding the schemes that we are going to review today. Of course, there is a big participation of the market and of the private sector. But what is the role of the public sector in these services? What is the role the public sector can play? Is it really required, or only the private sector can do it?
It's actually a very big question, because it's not limited to housing refurbishment and energy and climate targets. The role of the public sector in relation to market activity is it's actually a big question. In that case, what we see is there are when we review the different market offers and types of actors on the market, we clearly see that they are not coordinated, but also that it won't happen spontaneously. They have no, they have diverging interest and no incentive to actually go for complex offers and integrated offers with their peers and competitors. So the role of these one-stop shops or integrated home renovation services could be to facilitate these relationships between actors. So that could be a first, but you could actually, and this is what happens in a number of places, also consider that the public actors can take a position in the market, and also start by showing by examples, actually start providing also their own services and incorporating private actors and showing them how to and what is the profitability of this kind of investment. You can even consider that parts or even all of these services should belong to public services, considering that there is clearly a market failure in achieving our targets by 2030. As I remind, we should develop divide by half our greenhouse gases emission within the next 8 years. So that means really, really quickly. And considering current market practices, it won't happen. So you can also consider there is a market failure that needs to be fixed by a much more ambitious public action and defining part of all of these services as a public service, therefore opening a new full range of possibilities for public actions.
Thank you for taking this difficult question. I think I have another reaction from the audience, from Erwin Mlecznik. He's saying one-stop shops have difficulties with investments in the long process for multifamily building renovations. How can, for example, guarantee funds help?
Yes, that could help. Actually, the multifamily building is clearly the most complex of all sectors in the residential sectors, because you mix all the difficulties of the individual housing plus all the difficulties of multifamily buildings, and especially the difficulties related to governance of multifamily buildings and how to take a decision jointly in a building with all that this implies. Difficulties of financing also, because you will find in the multifamily building a number of very different situations. People who have the means to invest in home renovation, living together with people who are in energy poverty in the same building. And so you have to take this complexity into consideration. There are ways or initiatives that aims at lending money to the condominium as a whole, but it's actually not that straightforward. And in many cases, you end up providing individual loans to each of the homeowners in the multifamily buildings. Maybe a way to facilitate the lending processes to condominiums could indeed be to develop guarantee funds, but it's a complex and systemic approach to the multifamily building sector that should be taken.
Thank you very much, Christophe. We could spend half of the morning with you, but
The full day.
but we have to move to our next speaker. We have time limitations. So thank you very much for your participation. And,
thank you very much.
Thank you. I will now introduce Stefan O'Connor, who is Managing Director at Electric Island Super Homes. Mr. O'Connor has 25 years of experience in the energy and telecom industries, both in the public and private sector, working across corporate finance and public policy. Stefan, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Jose, and thank you for the introduction. And enjoyed Christophe's piece as well there. I remember I was reading one of his articles, and I think one description he used of the Integrated Home Renovation Services, or one-stop shops, was we were like wedding planners, which I particularly enjoyed. So over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about the experience of one of the wedding planners in this particular area in the Irish context. As Jose said, my name is Stephen O'Connor. My background, I was in the Department of Energy in Ireland for a number of years and was an energy policy advisor to the last Green government, not the current one, the last Green government about 10 years ago. And we would have looked at this area in detail and were involved in the first National Energy Efficiency Action Plan. So here we are, kind of, I'm coming back to this area, 12 years later, and we've made some successes in Ireland, but really this model or this industry has yet to take off. And I think, look, we all know what the targets are in the European context, and Ireland is no different. We know what the challenges are. We know what the opportunity is here now. And this is more and more important now. We're trying to reduce our carbon emissions. We're trying to improve our energy efficiency. we're trying to reduce our energy bills and our dependence on imported fossil fuels into the European Union. But we're also trying to improve the health of our buildings and the health of the people who live in them. And it's also a very important economic stimulus, providing local skilled construction jobs all over Ireland and all over the European community. So look, that's the kind of the scene set. So I'll talk to you now about us. And the good news is I've only 8 slides over the next kind of 20 minutes or so. We are a one-stop shop, Electric Ireland Superhomes. We were born 8 months ago in June 2021, a combination of 2 companies. One is a company called TEA, Tipperary Energy Agency, who certainly the Federine guys would know very, very well, and the Covenant of Mayors, because they've been deep retrofitting homes in Ireland for more than 5 years and had started with a one-stop shop model, only doing deep retrofits around Ireland, no shallow measures. So Electric Ireland, which is part of ESB, which is the largest utility in Ireland, state-owned utility in Ireland with over 1 million retail customers. And bear in mind, there's only 2 million homes in Ireland. So to have 1.2 million customers, is a very significant number. And the ESB's agenda is very much around clean energy, decarbonising heat, moving from traditional gas, coal and oil power plants more into renewables. So that's the ESB's agenda. The 2 companies got together last year to form this joint venture called Electric Ireland Superhomes, specifically set up with a target of delivering 35,000 deep retrofits in Ireland by 2030. Now, when you consider that probably in Ireland this year, out of the 2 million homes, we probably did 2,000 or 3,000 deep retrofits, which is not a great performance. We've done a lot of shallow retrofits over the years. We've done about 400,000 shallow retrofits. Not far off 25% of our housing stock have had some measure done, but the deep retrofit market in Ireland just has not started yet. But we have a very ambitious government target to do 500,000 homes by 2030, 25% of the housing stock, and install 600,000 heat pumps. So we've got we have got this really, really ambitious national growth model, and it is in that context that the JV was set up to try and play its part in trying to meet those government targets. So what's our version of the one-stop shop, or the Integrated Home Services company, or the wedding planner? What do we do? These are the 6 bits that we do. We try and make the process of a consumer doing a deep retrofit as easy as possible. We try and remove all of the pain points. And I guess the first kind of 4 or 5 icons there on the left-hand side are things that these are basic things. We grow awareness and marketing starting on the left-hand side. We talk to consumers. We play the role of a trusted retrofit advisor, an independent retrofit advisor, and we work with them to do a survey of their house, to understand their ambition, to understand their budget. And if they continue with us and they want to go down this road, we will do a full energy design for them. Very much built around a central heating system involving a heat pump. We will then tender that particular job and match them with a contractor from our approved panel of contractors. And then during that job, we will look after all the quality control. We will, project manage the contractor for the consumer, and give all of that assurance. So, that from a consumer point of view, they have a single point of contact. It's us. We're acting for them. We are their independent, trusted advisor between them and the contractor, and consumers like that. And then obviously, the advocacy piece. We do a lot of events. We do trade shows. We do media. We do our bit to try and grow the awareness of our industry. And then the final two icons on the right-hand side there, we do all, and this again, to go back to the point about taking pain points away, we do all of the paperwork, we do all of the grant work. There's generous Irish government subsidies for homeowners who do this work, and we handle all of that for them. And in the future, we hope to be able to provide, in the near future, we hope to be able to provide consumer finance. Obviously, somebody doing this job, it can be a big job. It could be 50,000 euros. They may have some savings. There are generous government grants of up to maybe half that amount, but there's still a gap. And that gap, is typically made up from consumer finance. And we aim to be more active in that area, kind of in the immediate future. So that's our process. We've been doing this now within the Super Homes company itself and ourselves. We've probably done about 500 of these homes. What have we learned? I guess we've learned that the greens part of that slide, sorry, the right-hand side shows all those blue dots. That shows each blue dot there is a deep retrofit customer of ours. And you can see, we do work in clusters. There's areas in the country that we're strong. There's areas in the country that we have yet to develop. And obviously we want to become fully national. So we need to build out our capability in other areas. But coming back to the learnings, what do homeowners want? Homeowners want an easy build, very little disruption. They want to trust their advisor. They don't want a salesperson. They don't want lots of different technologies. They want it to be kept simple. They want end-to-end service. They don't want paperwork. And, obviously they want quality. From a contractor point of view, that middle section, they also want an easy build. They want to get paid. They don't want paperwork. They want a good quality design from somebody like us that doesn't keep changing. They want a solid pipeline of work. They don't want stop-start. They don't want schemes that last 6 months and then wait for more government funding for the next 6 months. So they want continuity. And for this industry to work in Ireland, and I'm sure other member states are similar, one and two both need to be happy. Homeowners and contractors need to be happy. Because if both of those aren't happy, then the supply chain isn't working, and there's no role for us. So we work very hard to try and keep our homeowners and our contractors happy. So what's the ambition of the company? As I spoke earlier, I guess on the right-hand side there, you'll see what our growth plans are. We did 100 of these retrofits in 2021, with covering about 5 or 6 million worth of capital. So about 50 to 60,000 euros each. We hope to do, we've about 23, 24 staff today. I'd say by the end of the year, that'll be closer to 40. 2022, we hope to do 250 homes, probably with 12 or 13 million worth of capital. And then 2023, 600. And as you can see, our ambition is to double really each year to get us up to, by 2027, 2028, we really want to be doing 5,000 homes a year, which is, a significant number, and will probably involve staff, direct staff, probably up to 200 staff, that kind of number. So the bits to deliver that ambition, I guess on the operation side, that's on us, that's within our control. We currently have one office. Our plan is to move from the central office to have regional hubs around the country. We'll obviously, there's a big recruitment effort. We've a big ambition to try and digitize and automate as many of our systems as we can. People sending in scheme designs, using web apps, using on-site, whatever we can do in terms of improved digitization. That is a key way for us to scale. On the contractor side, we need to keep developing our contractors. We work with about 20 contractors today. We need more contractors, and we need contractors of scale. And we need to do our best to try and develop the skills capability in Ireland, at all levels, from the apprenticeships all the way up to the senior contractors. From a consumer point of view, we need to do our bit to help develop awareness, education. We're very we place great emphasis on our marketing and our communication with customers because this is a technically difficult area and customers are nervous. And we are very aligned with government here. Government are giving generous subsidies here. So we try and align in with whatever communications government are doing around grant packages. We try and get in there and amplify that. And then on the finance, that's going to be a big thing to try and unlock that. Grants and savings aren't enough. The cost and availability of finance will be key as more and more people look to do this. We've been very lucky. We've had the benefit of being part of a Horizon 2020 program around the Integrated Home Renovation Service. It's called Super Homes 2030. We started it in June 2020. It's a 3-year program. We received funding of just under $1 million to try and scale us up to doing 500 homes a year. To try and develop 4 regional branches, to cover 60% population in Ireland, develop our contractors, develop a finance solution, develop our technical standards, and really try and play our part in terms of becoming a thought leader, developing a knowledge hub, and developing that community of practice to share whatever learnings we have in an Irish market with others. So they're our partners along the bottom. They're a great mix of academic, energy agency, financial consultants, technical experts from the European Heat Pump Association, etc. So look, that's been a great program for us to get us started. As I said earlier, brand marketing are really important. Consumer information. Consumers are really curious about this, and particularly now with new Irish government subsidy levels being improved. But they do want lots of clear information. So this is something we take very seriously. We totally redesigned our website and our online application form. We're very active on social media. We work hard on having really clear, consistent customer communication. We go to trade shows. We do PR. We play our part in terms of appearing on national and local radio to explain what a retrofit is. We do advertising. We've even sponsored a national TV program around home renovations. You can see it just there in the bottom there. It's called My Bungalow Bliss, which is broadcast on RTE, which is the Irish national broadcaster. So, that is really important for us to stimulate the demand side and to increase kind of awareness. So we did some market research as well. We will go again on this. We checked in with homeowners in Ireland to ask, who's interested in doing this kind of work. And I suppose that big number in the middle there, 58%, almost 60% of homeowners said they were going to do something in the next 12 months. It could be lots of different things. You'll see them all on the left-hand side, but nearly 6 out of 10 said they were going to do something with their house. 1/3 said they were going to, which is the top horizontal bar, said they were going to seek advice on home energy upgrades. Now, we need that to be much higher. We need everybody in Ireland, and I would say in other countries, who are doing home improvements. If you're doing a home improvement, you've got to be seeking energy advice, because if you're going to spend money, invest in the walls, in the roof, really seeking advice on home energy upgrade at the same time is absolutely critical. So we've got to get that number up. That's on us. So the other bars there, you'll see the other particular areas of works and technologies that people were looking at. You'll see higher percentages attached to the more traditional measures around wall insulation and boiler upgrades. And then towards the bottom, you'll see a 10% heat pump, 12% solar panels. And again, we've broken down these numbers for our market research. They vary with age. The older people are, the less likely they're interested in a heat pump. They're maybe a bit more scared of the technology. Younger people are much more amenable, younger homeowners, much more amenable and open to heat pumps and solar panels. But I think we will continue doing this market research and keep an eye on all of these trends. So I guess, look, in summary, the public policy environment in Ireland is very supportive. As I say, grants are available for shallow measures, but also significant subsidies for deep retrofit. This is a really core part of Ireland's climate action plan and playing its role in the European Green Deal. And those levels are really high, and they are multi-annual subsidy schemes with no closing dates. And there is funding certainty out to 2030. The Irish government is going to ring fence proceeds of the carbon tax to fund these subsidies. So that is all secure. And that's great because contractors look at that and they can see kind of workflow going out years ahead, and they can then decide to invest in their own companies and scale up, which is brilliant. But there are lots of challenges for us, not just nationally, not just government, but for us as a one-stop shop, as a home services integrated company. How do we deliver at scale? How do we industrialize our process? We know we can do 100 homes, but can we do 1,000? Can we do 10,000? That's our question. Consumers, they still need education, and these costs are high. So anything that can be done around subsidizing loans, loan guarantees, all of that, and there are a number of initiatives in the pipeline. That's all going to be really helpful. Capacity constraints are, the Irish. There's lots of Irish contractors building new homes at the moment. We need a lot of new homes. So you've got this tricky kind of conflict where you've got contractors who don't know whether they will take the job building the new home or do they do the retrofit job. And the two industries, the new homes industry and the retrofit industry, are all competing for the same people. Qualified skilled tradesmen, contractors, etc. So that is a problem. That's a capacity problem. We have to automate, we have to digitize. That will help deliver at scale. And look, we've all seen construction costs and supply chain issues over the last number of years, have manifested itself, and that just means longer lead times. That means more uncertainty. That means consumers are wondering, I start a job and it's 50,000 euro. When it finishes, is it 60,000? And does it, instead of taking 2 months, is it going to take 6 months? All of these uncertainties prey on the minds of consumers who are on the fence, deciding whether to do this. But look, notwithstanding all of those challenges, we've been around we started 8 months ago, and we're making good progress, and delighted to share kind of some of our learnings, and hope to kind of maybe come back to you to this forum or a similar forum in another year, and hopefully we'll have more to share at that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Well, I recommend the audience, if they have any question, to write it down in the chat, because Stefan has to leave in a few minutes. Meanwhile, I would like to make you a question or a comment about with these programs we are stimulating demand, and do you think that this demand might be sometimes be so high that the contractor capacity is not enough to meet that demand, and that might cause failures in the market? For example, it can contribute to rise the prices of the interventions, the prices of the renovations.
Yeah, Jose, it's the key question for us. I think I'm not worried when I think about our business and I think about our industry and the government targets. I'm not worried about the demand side. I think the demand will be there. I think there's a real awareness. People are spending so much time in their homes over the last 2 years during COVID. They've realized there are things about their home that they don't like anymore. They notice their home is cold. Maybe they didn't notice it before. So everybody wants to do something here. They're now looking at energy bills, and they've seen the increases, in recent months. And they also want to do their bit for the environment. And with the availability of good subsidies and guaranteed loan schemes or lower rate green loans. So all of that supports the demand side. What does keep me awake is the supply side. We work with, we have a panel of contractors that are about 20 contractors. We need to get bigger scale contractors onto the pitch who also have the opportunity to work in easier new build areas. So, you know, if you're building a new build, you might be building 100 houses that all look the same. That gives you scale. That's really easy to replicate. Deep retrofit is difficult. Every house is different. So how do we get these people into the market? I am worried about that. I am worried that we will not have the capability and the capacity. There are measures being done to try and attract. I mean, when the financial crisis hit 10 years ago, the Irish construction sector probably halved during the financial crisis. Lots of people went abroad and didn't come home. So, you know, there is a real capacity issue in the sector. A lot of efforts are being made to attract those people back. There are a number of apprenticeship programs that have been started in local education training bodies. There's big efforts being made to convince school leavers that this is an attractive trade career where you can learn, where you can do your job close to where you live. That's the thing. And I don't know whether this is the same with other people on this call, but you know, if you want to work in new build construction in Ireland, the houses are being built in Dublin and being built in Cork, but you might live 3 hours away. So you get up early in the morning and you drive to Dublin to work on site. That's not attractive. But if you can say, well, the deep retrofit happens everywhere. So if you can become a skilled tradesperson, you can actually work right beside where you live and you don't have that commute up to the massive building site in Dublin. So I look, there's things being done, Jose, but it is going to be difficult. It is really, really going to be difficult. And a lot of efforts are going to have to be made in this area.
Thank you very much for your answer, Stephen. I have here a couple of questions from the audience. Frank Centenier says, how do you manage with non-electric heated buildings? And Carl is asking about what developments in data would help to ease the process of wide-scale individual deep retrofit jobs.
Okay, well, starting with the non-electric heated buildings. We have made a decision as a company that we will not work with fossil fuels ever. So when we formed the joint venture, the Superhome side of the joint venture hadn't done a fossil fuel boiler in 5 years. So if somebody is interested in doing a deep retrofit but hanging on to the gas boiler or the oil boiler, then that's not a project for us. Our projects are based around with a heat pump at the core. So our projects, we have 4 elements to a project: a heat pump based central heating system, significant levels of insulation, air tightness, and ventilation. They're the 4 key elements to all of our projects. So if you want to do a fossil fuel central heating system, then that's not for us. There's lots of contractors that will work with you, but not us. So that's how we manage, and that's where we've set out our stall. I'll just go down to the next one. What developments in data would help to ease the process of wide-scale, individual, deep retrofit jobs? Yeah, it's more, I guess, to enable our. It's more around efficiency. It's around how we allocate our jobs. It's us linking up with contractors and having a system where they can see exactly where the job is. They can report in on the job, that their IT systems are linked into us, that you know they're doing designs maybe on site, not like when our engineers go to site. You know, they'll do a survey and then they'll go off site and they'll do that design. But there's nothing to stop them doing that design on some sort of a smart tablet or something, you know, and sending that design straight back into base. They're the kind of IT digital kind of tools that we're hoping for that will help us scale up. Plus, you know, workflow management tools. you know, a lot of companies that are in the one-stop shop area, they're small businesses and they manage all their workflow probably on an Excel spreadsheet. And that is not going to help you scale. So there are workflow management tools that if you're interested in scale, they're the kind of tools that will help. I'll just read the next one. There are some problems in old houses left to decay and heritage sites because it's more money in it. Yeah, I mean there is like, I don't disagree with your statement. Sometimes if you've got a very old house that's in bits, the cost of retrofitting and bringing that back, it's actually cheaper to just knock it down and start again. And look, that might not be the worst option. Like if the house has no heritage or cultural value, then maybe the thing is, you know, that the best thing to do is to knock it down and start again. Because the renovation is huge. And I'm okay with that because the new building standards in Ireland are basically close to NZEB standard. Like if you build a house today in Ireland, you've got to build it to a minimum A3 standard, which is a very high standard. So, you know, if it's a case of somebody comes to us with literally 2 walls and says, I'd like to retrofit these 2 walls, we'll absolutely look at that. And particularly if there's some heritage or cultural value. But, you know, some of them, you know, if a house has gone past a certain point, then, you know, maybe not. There is a, okay, fair point. I assume you're asking a rhetorical question there. There is no biogas production in Ireland. There is biogas production in Ireland, but it is very small scale. And if somebody wants to work in that area and work on a biogas gas boiler provision, that's absolutely fine. But we are a joint venture of an electricity company, a company that is moving towards clean electricity, which is Electric Ireland, part of ESB. We are interested in the electrification of heat as an agenda. So we are interested in that rather than interested in biogas. Would heat pumps be enough for more extreme climates like Poland and Romania? Is a question. Look.
Supone un esfuerzo adicional a todos los actores públicos que quizás no.
It seems we have somebody also willing to participate. You can continue, Stefan.
Well, maybe Jose, that other person was better qualified than me, because I mean, I obviously have visited Poland and Romania, actually both in the winter, and it was certainly colder than Ireland. But you know, heat pumps are very popular in Scandinavia. They're very popular in places that I would say have extreme cold. I wouldn't think there's barriers to bringing in heat pumps in extreme climates. No. Okay, Jose, is that the last one?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you very much for your time. I know that you are a little bit in a hurry, so thank you very much. It was nice to meet you.
Well, hopefully I can get back in, Jose, for the end. I'd like to be there for the end. All right, take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
So now it's time for our next speaker, Nacho de la Puerta Rueda, who is the Director of Territorial Planning and Urban Agenda of the Basque Government. He's an architect and has experience in strategic planning, urban planning, and quality processes. Until 2007, he was director of the urban planning area and the general plan office at the Eibar City Council, which is where one of the pilot offices of the OPENGELA project that he coordinates is located. Nacho, the floor is yours.
Hi, morning. Thank you so much. So I'll try to share my presentation. So Can you see the screen? Excuse me? Do you see the screen? My screen?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
So-
Nacho, please continue. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to FEDERNet for the invitation to share our experience in this webinar. And let me start with a video that explains the project in the beginning. With this very short introduction, let me some words about how the Basque Country is. It's a very small territory, about only 7,000 square kilometers, with 2.1 million people, but with a very strong and difficult administrative structure with 251 municipalities, but with the population mainly focused on the three urban nodes around the three main capitals, Bilbao, Vitoria, and San Sebastian, where about 70% of the population live there. We have a very old style of building, mainly in urban areas, with a very difficult management of private owners, because about 93% of are privately owned, and very old stock with about 70% without accessibility, integral accessibility. Other point we have to face is our demographic challenge, because our low fertility rate and high life expectancy, with a very huge problem with aging. And also we must have in account that we have a very high dependence, energy dependence, about 93%. So we only produce the 7% of all our energy demand. Since the 80s of the last century, we have been working on renovation the building stock and urban areas, but recently we developed our vulnerable report on the vulnerable neighborhoods, and we could see that about 30%, more than 30% of all population are living in very vulnerable or high vulnerable situations. So, because we have our urban agenda developed in 2017, 19, we started working with several vulnerable neighborhoods, trying to face the two main barriers we know, which is the management with the population and also the financial issues. So when we were working in that, the call of the European Commission started with this program focused on one-stop shops. So we put in the program those two neighborhoods, one in Bilbao, Otxarkoaga, and the other in Eibar, Chonta, establishing our first one-stop shops in both neighborhoods. OPENGELA means like open office. Gela is means office or room in Basque, and open, you know, is open. So it's this kind of meaning of certain proximity to the neighborhoods. We are focused on technical advice, advice on social matters, administrative staff in charge of operation of the district offices with 3 people, 1 technical people, another one focused on legal and regulatory issues, and of course financial and support to neighborhoods. Offering a non-institutional space for getting in touch with neighborhood, because most people have certain problems in order to be close to the administrative rooms. Trying to develop social and knowledge hub, training courses, seminars and conferences, and contracting, exploring ways to foster employment opportunities for neighborhoods. So we are validation those 2 pilot projects, trying to develop the business model at the regional scale. We were working on this when the pandemic came. So the renovation wave focused on how to develop the next generation EU on those new budget for the interventions was put on the table. But of course, pandemic crisis is not an easy process because we cannot get in touch with the people. We are trying to develop these 3 main elements: technical system, affordable financing, and smart funding. That means trust to renovate, because trust is the main and the key issue in order to develop the project in this kind of neighborhoods, vulnerable neighborhoods. Of course, finance is a very huge problem. We are trying to develop a mechanism which is called plus financial for neighborhoods in social conditions, which means plus financial. It's a scheme that try to develop in the first percentage the IHRS programs for rural districts, which means that we are trying to help all the buildings. Additionally, we have the Basque government IHRS for particulars. That means that depending on the incomes of the population, they can get more subsidies, but until cover the 100% of the investment needed, we must guarantee that everybody can achieve the financial needs for this investment. So we are developing this warranty fund aids that means that everyone can achieve the financial scheme for trying to pay the investment they must do in the buildings. With this scheme, we are trying to recover, to return the subsidies depending the condition in we are giving it, and always if the buildings, the dwellings are sold. In these conditions, the building renovation interventions are very huge. Not only the conditions are focused on energy efficiency, but also accessibility, safety, and energy measures, passive and active heaters, insulation windows. Also, we are developing a process helping neighborhoods and owners on how to improve the energy bill. And we are talking about an investment between 5,000 and 70,000 euros, depending on the renovation depth and the typology of the buildings. So this means that the monthly payment capacity, depending on the economic level, goes from 40 euros per month to more than 500 a month. This means that is a very huge rate of payment. But on the other hand, we are facing several improvements. We are taking in account. We must take in account that total saving without PV panels are about the 75% of the current energy consumption, and 80%, more than 80% on the CO2 emissions. And if we put the PV panels, it's arriving at more than 90% of the energy consumption. So it's very, very huge improvement. And we are facing and probably avoiding the risk of energy poverty. We have new challenges ahead that we must take into account, that accessibility element, which is often neglected. For example, in the next generation European funds, the price rise is in this moment is rising in some raw materials, and we have a lack of skilled workforce is needed. Renovation has many specific angles, technical, legal, psychological implication, and we have not enough workers in these uses. And interlinkages between policy measures must be addressed. Comprehensive integral view is more needed than ever. Putting an end to energy wastage must become again the center of the debate. So 5 key messages. 2050 decarbonization goals require a change of scope from buildings to neighborhoods, leave no place behind. From this point of integral urban renovation, trying to put in the table not only the physical measures but also the social. Projects must have a approach from a territorial perspective. We are facing the sustainable development strategies in this sense, and the multi-level and multi-stakeholder governance is really a key question in order to get involved and achieve the trust and the confidence of all the neighbors that are involved. And we are trying to give the position of the governance from the region. Management of renovation projects, so district-based with one-stop source, providing trust for citizens is really a key question, because we need trust for our citizens. And affordable financing requires a change of scope in financial markets because the current commercial market, financial market is not working for this kind of population. So public authorities, again, must have a key role in this question. So thank you very much.
Nacho, thank you for your presentation. I remind the participants, if they want to make any question, they can use the chat. I have a question for you, Nacho. One of the main characteristics of OPENGELA is that it is focused on vulnerable districts. So taking into account how difficult is making home renovation with energy efficiency in Spain, you have chosen doing it in or starting it in vulnerable districts. Don't you feel a little bit Quixote?
Really a tricky question because two things you have mentioned. On the one hand, of course, Southern Europe, the energy efficiency is not the key matter, the key question. The key question is probably accessibility, universal accessibility to the buildings, because the older people, the aging matter is a key question, not because our warm weather, we don't need so much heating or cooling. So here the main problem is accessibility. But nowadays that we have a really huge budget, huge public money in order to invest in the buildings, I think that the public must be focused. Public activities must be focused on those that have more needed. So in this sense, the most vulnerable neighborhoods, I think must be our key our main point of view. If we develop this, the solution for these neighborhoods, of course, we can develop this business model to all the territory, to all the building stock, because then the main problems have been solved. So could be like a Quixote, but I think that as public administration is our commitment to work for those that have the highest needs.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nacho. I don't see any other question from the audience, but I think we are going to stay until the end of the event. So if we receive any other question, I will send it to you. So
okay. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Now we have our last presentation of today. Last but not least, we have with us Jordi Ayats Reixac, who is a civil engineer and director of Fundació Europeis. Fundació Europeis is a non-profit organization aiming to fight climate change while improving the health and well-being of citizens through urban regeneration. He is responsible for domus, such as Garrocha Domus or the Domus, an integrated home renovation program to boost buildings decarbonization. Jordi, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jose, for the introduction. And I'm going to share a presentation to support. Okay. As I said, thank you for the introduction and thanks for inviting us to present in this very interesting webinar. Certainly my previous colleagues, their interventions were really interesting. And I saw that more or less all we are aligned, and I'll try to skip some of the slides I have in order to save some time because we are back on time. Thank you very much. So already Jose introduced our organization, Europe's Foundation. We basically promote energy transition and building decarbonization. Just to provide a bit of context, I think this is very well known. Buildings are responsible for 40% of the energy consumption and 36% of greenhouse emissions. We spend most of our time indoors, and from this 90%, 2/3 in our home. And that means that one way to fight climate change, and at the same time, as I said, as part of the foundation mission to improve citizen health, is to improve our buildings. And just
excuse me to interrupt you, and Jordi, you can switch the presentation mode, because I think that is your presentation, your PowerPoint is not in the presentation mode.
Sorry. So
yeah, I think it was in the edition mode, not in the presentation mode.
Okay, let's start again then.
Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. One second. Okay. Now, Sarah?
Well, apparently it's continue like that. So great. Yeah,
but it's very strange because okay, just last try. I don't understand why. Okay, let's do that try. Now?
Yes, now, yeah.
Now,
okay,
yes.
Perfect.
Now, yes.
Sorry for that. Okay, well, as I mentioned before, I explained about the context. Just looking at the building stock in province of Girona, where Gidomus is working or is trying to be developed, we have a very old building stock. Actually, more than 65% of the building stock were built before 1980, where the building code for the new buildings didn't include any energy efficiency measures. So that means that a high percentage of the current building stock is very inefficient. Actually, 75% of the buildings require some kind of energy efficiency improvement. And as I mentioned before, these old buildings also, because usually are not maintained properly, also impact on health and quality of life of the people living in. So one way to solve this situation is basically through energy efficiency, through energy renovation. And actually improving energy efficiency in buildings plays a key role to achieve the ambitious goal of carbon neutrality by 2050. Currently in Europe, in Spain, the figures are very similar. The current renovation rates are around 1%. And we should increase these rates up to 3% in order to meet climate goals. So how can we improve? How can we increase these rates? How can we update the energy renovation sector? Well, basically, in the previous presentations, a lot of constraints, barriers have been highlighted. We would like to keep it simple. And we group the barriers in two. Okay, basically the sector is constrained by, first, a lack of demand was mentioned before. I think Christophe highlighted this aspect, very, very important. And the second one is the process itself. Renovation usually is a complex, stressful, and a slow process. So how can we, GDOMUS programs address these barriers? Well, I'm going to explain that in the following slides, but before that, let me introduce GDOMUS program. GDOMUS program is an integrated home renovation program to boost energy efficiency and renewable energy on the housing stock. GDOMUS is participated by 6 municipalities. The design stage has been funded by EU City Facility Program, and Fundació Europea is responsible for design and deploy this program. GDOMUS is part of DOMUS program, which basically we create a new player in the building energy renovation sector that unlocks the main barriers we mentioned before through social marketing and 360 personalized assistance. We'll explain a bit further in the following slides. GDOMUS basically replicates the Garrotxa Domus model, which is currently working in a Garrotxa region. And actually, Garrotxa Domus last year was the first year that was providing service and was recognized by the best climate action in 2021 by the Catalan Municipality Association. The results were very positive, considering that Garrotxa Domus covers provides services to around 55,000 population. We boost more than 100 energy retrofit projects, direct retrofit projects, and also the same figure as indirectly. And the rates, so we sent a survey at the end of each service to the homeowners, and they rate us in 8.8, which is not bad. And we have some relevant figures, a lead to project around above 30%, which is not bad. Remembering about the 2 main barriers I mentioned earlier, the second one was about the renovation process itself. Traditionally, the process is complex, slow, stressful. So through 360, what we call 360 personalized assistance, we transform the building renovation sector, renovation process in a simple, affordable, and a quality assured process. And this assistance is based on 4 pillars. The first one is already well known, is we are based on a one-stop shop models, which facilitates the interaction between the different actors that will involve on the process. And this solves one of the barriers of the sector, which is, well, the renovation sector is a very fragmented sector involving a lot of actors. So if the homeowner, in this case, the promoter, has to align these actors, is very, very difficult. So one way to facilitate that and streamline this process is to create that one-stop shop model that interacts among the different actors. The second one is a people-centric approach, very, very important. At the end, the most important, the main actor of the movie is the homeowner. And the service has to be developed around their needs and desires. And actually, we provide a comprehensive and customized response to the needs, desires, and barriers of each homeowner through the entire process, providing technical, administrative, and financial assistance. Very, very similar to what has been mentioned in previous experience. Qualified actors, professionals. I mentioned earlier, we don't replace any of the existing actors on the renovation sector. We create a new one. And actually, this new actor has to assist the homeowner, but also has to help growth the current professionals of the sector. So what we are doing is basically provide new jobs, bigger renovation projects to the local validated professionals. And what we are doing is making sure that the homeowners will receive a high quality service by validating them. This is very important because it will help to replicate fast this type of services. It's one of the concerns were mentioned before, how to replicate that first in order to meet the 2030 and 2050 climate goals. The fourth pillar, very, very important as well, digitalization. Well, it was mentioned before, if you implement this type of services, you are going to be dealing with a lot of projects, with a lot of leads, and it's very important to be efficient. And especially if these programs are not, the market is not mature enough for the homeowners to pay that type of services, and this has to be granted or promoted by the public administration, where the budgets are limited and especially affected by the COVID situation in the latest years. So it's very important to be efficient and effective. So what we did is we create an innovative platform that digitalize, speed up, and improve the interaction between all the actors involved in the renovation project. Regarding the first barrier I mentioned before is the lack of demand. Well, there are many ways to spur that demand, to generate the need for the families to renovate. One we are putting in practice is the energy awareness. We basically use effective customer outreach strategy based on social marketing. We are using social marketing is based on using effective triggers, more aligned with comfort and health than sustainability. Unfortunately, today when are not rehabilitating or renovating their homes from the sustainability point of view. We did the research when we start designing the project, and actually only 5% of the homeowners that they are thinking to renovate, the main trigger is the environmental trigger. So we need to be realistic and use effective triggers. And today, these triggers are more aligned with comfort and health, and highlight all these aspects. Very important, explain all the other benefits of the home renovation. People doesn't know today what are the benefits of the energy renovation, why is needed. So explain all these other benefits. It's key in order to convince them. It's very important to highlight the improve of health and quality of life they are going to get from this renovation. Also highlight the aspect of you may increase productivity also, or asset revaluation. All these aspects, all these benefits, all these other benefits help to convince homeowners to move ahead with the energy renovation. Very important, using plain communication. We need to be aware of on the other side, the listener is not an expert, so don't use too much technicalities, otherwise they are not going to understand anything and not do anything. Make energy visible, very, very important. People doesn't know what is energy renovation. They don't know what is how looks like an insulation or a photovoltaic panel. So it's very important to make it visible, showing real cases. And the last one is also was mentioned a lot by my previous the previous colleague, Ignacio de la Porta, creating trust environment. This is key in order to convince people to move ahead with this type of renovation. And actually, this was providing response to one of the questions Christophe mentioned in the beginning. What could be the role of the administrative, the public sector to help on this challenge? Well, creating trust. So supporting this type of services is by a public administration provides trust to the citizen, and this is key in order to convince them. Now I'm moving to just for the ones who may think, okay, all this, how you put in practice, how can you create energy awareness? Well, we do that in several ways. I'm going to put just an example of action we do based on these aspects, and actually captures very well the essence of the program as well. It's just a video, it takes 1 minute, but I think it's at least I like a lot. Just an example. And just to highlight all the benefits that provide this type of services. In terms of people, obviously this type of services helps them to improve their quality of life. Also, they will get energy savings and energy bills reduction, which is very important in these past months because the energy bill has been rise a lot. In terms of environment, obviously, it helps to combat climate change and contributes to create vibrant and sustainable communities. And for the citizens and regions, this type of programs, they are very helpful to stimulate local economy and create new jobs and also spur urban regeneration. My presentation ends here. Thank you very much. And if there is any question, I'll be very happy to answer them at the end of the webinar. Thanks.
Thank you, Jordi. So here I have a couple of questions from the people, from the participants. Dominic Burs is asking about the renovation port 4.0 platform. Is this available? This platform? And Francesca Ogoni from Enea is asking, which is the legal form of GDomus? It's a public-private partnership. Is it public? What kind of organization is it?
Yeah. Regarding the first question, the Renovation 4.0, actually the name is not official yet, but yeah, it's a platform we develop and we are implementing in several public administrations. And if Dominic is interested on them, I'll be happy to have another discussion outside this presentation to see if we can get some kind of collaboration. Yes. Regarding the second one, which is a legal form, well, GDomus actually is a program managed by Fundació Europees, and the idea is to implement this in initially the objective is to implement this in all the Girona province. We are started with 6 municipalities, all of them capital of counties. We've finalized the design stage, and now we will start with them the implementation. Yeah, but it's private. It's a private program, but the idea is to obviously to be implemented under the public umbrella, because as I mentioned before, it's very, very important, at least in Spain, in these earlier stages where the market is still very not mature and people doesn't understand the real value of this type of renovation. It's very important to have the umbrella of the public sector to promote this type of services to create trust. Josera?
I was muted. I was saying that Dominic is sending you her email address, so so you can both be in contact. I would like to make a final question for you. Out of the many elements that should be considered for a successful deployment of an integrated home renovation service, which one do you think is the key element, the most important one from your experience?
Well, I think that, as it was highlighted in the previous presentations, that really the challenging is is a very good challenge. You know, it's a complex sector, and especially if you are focused on the energy renovation. But there is one element that probably is not often highlighted when we present this type of presentations, but it was actually mentioned in Stefan's presentation, which is actually the digitalization. When we are deploying this type of services, you are going to deal with a lot of leads, a lot of projects. You are going to interact with a lot of contractors and citizens, and it's important to be efficient. And we need to bring the renovation sector, which is still are improving, but still in a very traditional process. We need to automatize the sectors, and providing digital tools to, as I mentioned before, to make more efficient the program. It's key in order to the staff spend their time not introducing an Excel or being lost among different tools and documents. They should spend their time in the house of the families, to assisting them and listening and suggesting what they should do in order to improve their homes. So I will say, yes, the platform digitalization is a very key element, usually not highlighted, but very, very relevant if you want to have an effective and a scalable service.
Thank you very much, Jordi.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We spent the whole morning with the speakers and with you, but this has come to an end. We have run out of time. We have overspent time. Thank all the participants for the patience for being there, because they have been there all the time. Thanks to the speakers for their inspiring stories, for the inspiring issues that they have shared with us, and thanks Fedaren for the organization. And I just can say that's all, folks. Thank you very much. Bye.